executives in the world. How is this possible? And the answer is that markets are good at doing exactly what companies usually suck at. Markets are really good at reallocating resources. You say, I'm going to sell my shares in Google and I'm going to buy Apple. You don't have to ask anyone's permission, right? You just go off and do it. It doesn't mean that markets always get things right. They don't. They can be also subject to manias, just like human beings. But on average, they get it right more than hierarchies get it right. Because often inside traditional hierarchies, there are a lot of rigidities that mean year after year we give more and more money to the existing businesses and programs and initiatives while we starve the new things. Second reason organizations tend to fail, they over-invest in what is at the expense of what could be. And so, we starve the new things, we over-resource the old things. Why? Because the existing businesses are run by people with a lot of political power. It's the same reason that in government it's very hard to kill a program, to take away a budget from a powerful ministry or department, because they have strong advocates. Think about this. Little analogy. The Grameen Bank, you all know the Grameen Bank, micro-lending. The last time I checked, they made about 4 million loans, almost exclusively to women, no collateral, almost no paperwork. They have a very high repayment rate, very few, they don't write off many loans. And when these women take these loans to start a little business, on average they lift their family income by 50%. Think about why is it that a 50-year-old woman in Bangladesh can get a few $100 or euros or krona, a few hundred, whatever, to go try something new. And the average first-level employee in our own companies can't. Right? How could that be right? Because adaptability and innovation requires experimentation, which requires small amounts of experimental capital, and yet often in our organizations it's difficult for people to get that. Right? The way the resource allocation process works in our companies is much more like the Soviet Union than it is the New York Stock Exchange or Silicon Valley and so on. This again, I think it's something we need to start to change. And here and there you see this changing. There's a small company I know, only 200 employees, but they were worried about becoming bureaucratic. And so they created an internal marketplace for ideas. Any employee in this company, they do defense software, highly sophisticated software for Department of Defense, Ministries of Defense around the world. And so they created a market where any employee can do an initial public offering, IPO, of a new idea. All it takes is one sponsor. Anyone else doesn't have to be your boss. If you can find one other person to co-sponsor your IPO, you can take this and kind of launch it inside the company. Every IPO debuts at $10, a share price of $10. You have to produce a budget for your idea. They call that budge-IT, budge it, move it, not like budget, but budge it. That doesn't have any numbers in it, but it has to be a series of tasks that you want to do to push this idea forward, and every task has to be able to be accomplished by one person in half of a day. So they force you to take even a big idea, de-risk, break it down into small steps, so you produce a budget. Every employee has $10,000 of fantasy money, they call it mutual fund money, F-U-N, to invest in these ideas. So you look at all these IPOs, in the first year, employees launch 40 IPOs, and you can invest the ideas that you think make most sense. On every employee's computer screen, there's a ticker at the bottom running where people are updating with news about their idea. We had a customer meeting, we just did a patent search, whatever it is. So you're sharing constantly how your idea is doing. Each week they have an outside investment banker come in and revalue the ideas made a lot of progress that week. You've had some really great meetings. You've accomplished some of these budget items. People are volunteering to help you with your idea. The value of that idea is going to go up. And when an idea makes it into the top 20, it gets a real budget, a real allocation of time and so on. And the first year, the most profitable idea came from an administrative assistant, a secretary, who had an idea for taking their technology and visualization and partnering with a games company to help them build kind of more sophisticated video into their game. I don't think somebody that was 20 years in the defense industry would have ever seen that opportunity. But a mom who understood the company and watched her kids playing games said, we know something here we could apply in a whole different way. And today the founders of this company, they say, this is how we make strategy. We don't have any other process. Here's a place where every idea competes on an equal footing, where there's no political influence in which ideas get funded. It's just how do their peers rank them, how do they do. So using a market instead of a hierarchy. That is going to more and more be the norm. It can't be one or the other. We need both. Here and there we need hierarchy, but we also need markets.